Jane was raped by 3 men. She was tending her husband's goats and sheep and carrying firewood to the village when the attack happened. She suffered in silence for a while, but she had a difficult time taking care of herself and her children. She eventually confided in her mother-in-law. After this, she received traditional medicine, but it did not help. Eventually, her mother-in-law told Jane's husband of the rape. When he learned about the rape, he became very angry with Jane. He beat her with a cane. At this point, Jane decided to take her 3 children and disappear from the village. This story was reported in an August 16, 2015 article in The Guardian. This story is tragic, but sadly it's not the only one. This article also reports of an 11-year-old girl named Mamusi who was traded for cows when she was 11 years old. She ran away just after 1 day of this marriage. Her husband was 57 years old. These women have bonded together in a lifestyle that promotes growth and empowerment in a social experiment called Umoja. As we learn about Umoja today, we're going to discuss its origin, its functionality, and its benefits and implications. Umoja is a village in northern Kenya. According to halftheskymovement.org, Umoja means unity in Swahili, which is the native language there. Umoja.net states that the community was formed in 1990 by 14 women who were survivors of sexual violence and their leader, Rebecca Lolosoli. According to an article published on October 15, 2015 by Wilson Quarterly, British soldiers had visited Kenya for decades. They did this as part of training exercises for the military. These visits often ended in sexual assault, according to this article, to the Kenyan women, because they knew that culturally these women would be powerless for justice after the rape. According to halfthesky.org, their leader, Rebecca Lolosoli, attended primary school. She was a member of the Samburu tribe, and she attended primary school and went on to nursing school. She had to drop out of nursing school when she ran out of money. She was married at 18, and she started her own business selling her goods that she had made. When she heard of women in surrounding villages being raped by British soldiers, she began to speak up for them. This angered the men in her village, and they began to beat her. They beat her so severely at one point that she was put in the hospital. While she was in the hospital, she came up with the theory of an all-women village. When her husband failed to support her and failed to protect her and speak up for her in these beatings, she decided to leave him and go with these women and start this community. This community started a campground. They saved the money for that themselves. This is unusual in a patriarchal society. Usually men are the ones that own the land. Men control the money. Men make all the decisions. The society also practices the ritual of female genitalia mutilation. An article published in Time magazine on February 16, 2014 states that there is a belief in this culture that a woman must be cut in preparation of marriage. This usually happens in the preteen years. This can range from a small cut and removal of a portion of the genitals all the way to the complete removal of all external genitalia. This has many health dangers. It can cause severe bleeding, infertility, and problems for these women in childbirth. Sammy, who is a 33-year-old resident of Umoja, states that in the aforementioned Guardian article, states that once a woman is raped, she is not clean in Islam or in the Quran. She is then isolated from her family and her community, and she is forbidden to marry. Women are also often sold for a dowry in this culture at a young age. Childhood marriages are common. Now that we've learned about the history of Umoja, let's discuss how it functions. Julie Bendel, who was the reporter for the Guardian article, traveled to Umoja in 2015 to learn more about them. She states that she was greeted with singing and dancing when she got there, and she noted that the women there dressed quite well. At the time of her visit, there were 47 women and 200 children in the village. The women there are very frugal, yet they have enough money for clothing, shelter, and food for everybody that is there. They also operate a school for their own children and for the children of the neighboring tribes. They receive money from the tourists who stay in their campground, enter into their village where they charge a small entry fee, and who buy their jewelry. The women take care of everything there except for the animals. A man is contracted to come in early in the morning and take care of the animals. Now that we've discussed the functionality, let's talk about the benefits and implications. Umoja is a starting point for societal change and gender equality in Kenya. With the practice of genital mutilation and forced marriages, women do not have much equality. Some of the benefits of this community are education, empowerment, and safety. The women here are more educated than they would be otherwise. Most women in Kenya are forbidden to read. These women learn how to take care of themselves. They educate their children and they learn a trade. They begin to get more confident as they sell their things. A woman named Nagusi in the Guardian article, who is middle-aged and has 5 kids, states that women learn skills and that they are proud when they sell the things that they make. It's also a safe haven for these women. Judia, who is now 19, ran away from home at 13 so that she would not be sold into marriage. She states that she smiles now every day when she wakes up, as she knows that she's surrounded by help and support. This is also a place of empowerment. Sita, who is an elderly woman, states that outside of Umoja, women are ruled by men and can't get change. Umoja women have freedom, according to her. Mimusi, the aforementioned 11-year-old, is also the official greeter of Umoja, and she has been a resident there since 1998. Some of the implications of this kind of a living is that they receive a lot of violent threats, and there's a lack of traditional families. According to the Wilson Quarterly article, it is not uncommon for women here to receive threats. A lot of times this is abandoned husbands who are upset that their wives have left, and they also receive regular threats specifically against their matriarch, Rebecca Lolosoli. There's also an absence of traditional families. However, the Guardian reporter noted that there's not an absence of children. When she asked about this, she was told that the women there still like men and that they feel like their lives would be empty without children. So they go outside of the village where they get pregnant, and then they come back to the village where they raise their children in a gender equality, non-violent society. Umoja is making a small dent in the way that Kenyan women live. It has also spread education to the rest of the world as media outlets have taken notice of Umoja. Today we have discussed the origin, how it functions, and the benefits and implications. Mary, a 34-year-old resident, reported in The Guardian, stated, "We don't have much, but in Umoja, I have everything I need."